That's what we have in the White House today. William Z. Foster says in his book in 1932, he says, the day will come when there will be a communist in the White House. And he said the Soviet flag will fly over, just like the Muslims are saying the flag of Islam will fly over. There's a lot more I can talk about in that regard, but let's just mention a few other things.
Excuse me, you were mentioning something about the moral IQ and then you stopped. What were you going to say about that?
Well, I have a whole chapter on, actually one of the initial, my book is divided in two sections. The first part I talked about what happened in Russia. Just an overview so people can see what happened. And then I have a chapter on the psychology of the sociopath, where I talk about moral IQ. And just like you have a general IQ, and you can have a creative IQ, and people have mathematical IQs, there's also a moral IQ. And there are defunct terms like, you have genius and so forth, but you also have terms like the moron, which is the lowest level. Then you have the, I take the moron as the highest level of they call developmentally disabled. Okay, you have the moron, then under that you have the imbecile, under that you have the idiot. That's the way you used to classify people before political correctness came along.
Where's the Democrat come in?
Well, I say we can classify people on the moral IQ scale too. What we have among Islamists who behead Christians, who recently, ISIS in Iraq and Syria is beheading children who refuse to convert to Islam. In the Soviet Union, under Lenin, Stalin, Khrushchev, what did we see? From 1917, 1918 to 1987, according to R.J. Rummel, Professor Emeritus from the University of Hawaii, who died recently, wrote a book called Death by Government. He said that in the Soviet Union, the communists exterminated 61,911,000 men, women, and children. Many of them were starved to death, beaten to death, shot to death, worked to death in slave labor camps. Under Mao Zedong, according to R.J. Rummel, who, like I say, he wrote a book, Death by Government, where he studied this in detail. Under Mao Zedong and those sociopaths, they exterminated 76,702,000 men, women, and children. Again, starved to death, worked them to death, beat them to death, worked them to death in slave labor camps again.